Peace, everybody. What's happening? What's going on? Thank y'all for coming through and checking out my video for today. Today's topic, I'm going to be talking about John Hope. And so we going into Atlanta's history, right? We deal with Atlanta's Black history because there's a lot of African Americans that contribute a lot to the city of Atlanta as far as the struggles, the civil rights, and all of that, etc. So before I get started, shout out to the chat. Peace to Brother Chauncey. Thank you for coming through. And again, I want to thank my new subscriber that been coming in, subscribing to my channel, checking out my channel, sharing my video, all that great stuff. Thank y'all so much. With you guys, I continue with what I'm doing, and that's what it's all about, being able to get the information out with the people and all of that great stuff. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the topic. So who was John Hope? Now, a lot of y'all may not, if you're from Atlanta, a lot of you may know who John Hope is or heard about the projects, right? So that was a project called Hope Home, John Hope Projects, okay, which is now Castleberry Hill. That's what Castleberry Hill is at. So Castleberry Hill is right there on the intersection of Northside Drive and it's right there on the intersection of Northside Drive. Okay, not too far from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but right there in the area where is Castleberry Hill, that was Hope Homes. All right, that was John Hope Homes. That was the projects. All right, so the project was named after John Hope, who was an educator and activist in Atlanta. And he also did work outside the city, like in Nashville, Chicago, etc. Okay. He was really known to like work with people such as W.E.B. Du Bois. Also gave criticism to Booker T. Washington. He has worked alongside. He was very prominent and very active when it came to civil rights. So when you hear a lot about Atlanta history, you're gonna hear a lot about civil rights history. You're gonna hear a lot about all of that. So I'm gonna go into a lot of those things. I'm going to really like put a lot more focus and emphasis on the city of Atlanta history when it comes to Black history. All right, because I think that is very important. So in the past, I have done videos about J.W. Bowens, which Bowen Homes was named after him. John Wesley Cobbs, or excuse me, was it John Wesley Dobbs, I believe, right? Which he was considered as the unofficial mayor of Auburn Avenue. All right, he was one of the reasons why that Auburn Avenue got street lights today, because he fought to put that up. All right. I did Hank Aaron, and I did a lady. I think her name was Dorothy Golden or Dolden or something like that. I can't remember exactly her last name, but I did a video on her. All right, she was a activist, not only a community activist, but she was a domestic worker, and she fought for domestic workers' right. So for those of you that don't know what domestic worker is people who are maids, who clean houses, who are nannies, etc. All right, so she did a lot of that. So it's more that I have to get into, but so in the near future, okay, so it's a lot of topics, a lot of people that I got to cover, and a lot of events that I want to cover. So I'm doing a lot more information, looking up a lot more stuff. It's so much to discover out there. So today I'm going to deal with John Hope. All right. So who was John Hope? So let's go ahead and get into it. So what I want to do is, I got a few sources here. So one of them is the Wikipedia source, of course, and another source comes from the New Georgia Encyclopedia website. And also, I was able to find one of the books, but yeah, I was able to find the book. It's called A Clashing of the Soul, written by Leroy Davids Jr. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Okay. Okay. So, who's John Hope? So John Hope was born in John Hope was born on June the 2nd of 1868. And he died February 22nd, 1936. So he was born in Augusta, Georgia. And he was an American educator and a political activist. He was the first African descendant president of both Morehouse College in 1906 and Atlanta University in 1929, where he worked to develop graduate programs, both historically black colleges. All right, so Atlanta University is now Clark Atlanta University, okay? But let's go ahead and continue. So, determined to finish his education after having had to leave school to help support his family after his father's death, Hope went north, graduating from Worcester Academy and Brown University. He returned to the South to teach, and in 1906 became the first African American president of Atlanta Baptist College, which is now Morehouse College. All right. He served as president until his death in 1936. After the college affiliation with Atlanta University, Hope was selected in 1929 as the university's first African American president. He worked to develop that institution graduate programs to ensure higher education for blacks. See, these are the things that we don't hear about. But let's continue. So Hope was active in national civil rights organizations, including the Niagara Movement, the seceding National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and Southern-based Commission on Interracial Cooperation. In addition, he was active in the National Urban League, the YMCA, and the National Association of Teachers in Colored School. In 1936, he was awarded the NAACP Spurgeon Medal. All right, so again, he was born in Augusta, Georgia, the son of James Hope, a white Scot-American merchant, and Mary Frances Taylor, a free woman of color. Her mother was part of the class of free people of color well before the Civil War. The senior Hope was born in Leghorn, Scotland in 1805 and migrated with his parents at age 12 to New York City in 1817. As a young man, he established a successful grocery business in Manhattan. So in 1831, the senior Hope moved south to Augusta, Georgia, where he became a successful businessman. He later formed a relationship with Mary Frances Taylor. State law prohibited interracial marriage, but they lived openly as a couple to the end of his life and had a family. Of majority European ancestry, their son John Hope was European in appearance and could have passed for white, but he identified with African American community and devoted his life to its education and advancement in the post-war segregated South. All right, so he was 8 years old when his father died, and his family struggled financially. The executors failed to carry out his father's plans for support of him and his mother. The youth left school at the 8th grade to work, but 5 years later, John Hope was determined to get educated. He managed to go north for his education. All right. So again, he went on to Brown University, graduated in 1894. Hope was a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Okay. So John Hope returned to the South, began teaching at Roger Williams University in Nashville, Tennessee, a historically black college, founded after the Civil War. So a few years after Hope got established on December 29th of 1897, he married the former Eugenia D. Burns of Nashville. They had children. Eugenia Burns Hope became a well-known social reformer. All right. So he became a professor of classics at Atlanta Baptist College. All right, which is now Morehouse College. He moved his family to Georgia in 1906. Hope was unanimously chosen to be president of Atlanta Baptist College, the first man of African descent to serve in that position. And then the institution was renamed Morehouse in 1913. So Hope joined W.E.B. Du Bois and William Monroe Trotter, Northern activists, as founders of the Niagara Movement to work for civil rights for blacks. He was also active in seceding organization National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, founded in 1909, and became considered a national race leader. He supported full civil rights for blacks and promoted college education, becoming known for that as Booker T. Washington. Tuskegee Institute was known for vocation education. Hope and Du Bois both agreed that blacks must have the chance for a full academic education to develop leaders for their people. All right. So during World War One, Hope went to France where he served the United States as a YMCA secretary with American black soldiers from 1918 until 1919. After his return to the U.S., he organized the Southern-based Commission on Interracial Cooperation and served as its first president. So it said he continued as president of Morehouse College until his death. In 1928, Morehouse and Spelman College, a college for women, became affiliated with Atlanta University, also a historically black college. In 1929, Hope was selected as Atlanta University first African American president. So it's kind of redundant because it's saying the same thing a little bit. But going down, it says he concentrated on building the university graduate studies to ensure high achieving black scholars a place in academia. He inspires generation of scholars and activists. During his presidency, Atlanta University launched a graduate school, established their Department of Fine Arts, and opened the Trevor Arnett Library. So these are the list of places that was under his name. So in 1932, Hope received an LLD from Bates College. In 1936, he was awarded the Spingarn Medal from NAACP. John Hope College Preparatory High School, located at 5515 Eslow in Inglewood neighborhood in Chicago, was named for him. Hope Hill Elementary School, located at 112 Boulevard Northeast in the old Fourth Ward neighborhood in Atlanta, was named for him. Hope was invited as a convention speaker for Alpha Phi Alpha Silver Anniversary Convention in Nashville, Tennessee. The Science Hall at Morehouse College was renamed John Hope Hall. Westchester Academy created the John Hope Fellowship for Young Educators of Color in 2007. Camp John Hope in Marshallville, Georgia is also named for John Hope. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, the housing project, right, which is no longer around, was named John Hope Project. It's now called Castleberry Hill. So if you look up the history, look up Castleberry Hill and see what was it called before. It's going to put up John Hope. So John Hope Project was named after John Hope, the activist, okay? It was named after him. All right, so yeah, so as you can see, he really have done a lot when it came to African American education. And oftentimes we don't hear a lot about the activists in Atlanta, especially, that have really contribute a lot to the city, contribute a lot with whether it be social reform, education, housing, whatever. Our people have contributed so much out here. So, and he has not received his proper credit or his proper respect in history. So it's up to us to make sure that we acknowledge and we honor those who have really done a tremendous work. All right. So let's see what else we can find here. Now, right here, this is the new encyclopedia, New Georgia Encyclopedia. So you can go here on this website and you can find plenty of information. Okay. So as you can see, that's John Hope over here. All right, so let's see what else we can find down here. All right, so it says, Under his leadership, Atlanta University became the first college in the nation to focus exclusively on graduate education for African American students. As a race leader, Hope was steadfast in his support of public education, adequate housing, healthcare, job opportunities, and recreational facilities for blacks in Atlanta and across the nation. He also supported full civil rights in the South during an era when African Americans were expected to accommodate a system of inequality. So Hope faced many dilemmas throughout his adult life. Most vexing was his attempt to balance the demands of his job as a president of a black college with his roles as a national leader committed to a program of full civil rights. Hope was somewhat reluctant to give up good faculty and administrators who went on to serve in such organizations as the NAACP. He frequently contemplated leaving Morehouse and becoming a professional race leader himself, pondering, though ultimately rejecting offers from the NAACP, the Urban League, and the National Council of the YMCA. His deep involvement in race matters often strained his relationship with the prominent white liberals and philanthropists who were influential in the continuing development of black higher education, especially after the death of Booker T. Washington. Yet, in spite of these difficulties, Hope was as influential in the development of African American college education as Washington had been in the development of African Americans' vocational education. So he died of pneumonia at the age of 67. His papers are held at Robert W. Woodruff Library at the Atlanta University Center. Okay. All right, so that's that information. And here's a book. All right, so let me go to the beginning. So the name of this book right here is A Clashing of the Soul, John Hope and the Dilemma of African American Leadership and Black Higher Education in the Early 20th Century by Leroy Davis. Okay. Now, don't get it confused. You got John Hope Franklin, John Hope Bryan, and you got John Hope. So eventually one day I'm going to do a topic about John Hope Franklin. All right. But John Hope is the topic. All right. So I don't want anybody to get confused off of that. So John Hope Franklin was a historian. Okay. So yeah, that's this book right here. So if you guys want to check out more information, just look up the name of this book. It's called A Clashing of the Soul by Leroy Davis. All right. So now I have another book, and I introduced this book before. It's called The Way It Was in the South, The Black Experience in Georgia by Donald L. Grant. Now, I believe this book is out of print, so it may be hard to find, but luckily I was able to purchase a book when I went to an event. I went to one of the festivals and somebody was selling this book, so I went on ahead and purchased it. But last time I checked, I think this book is out of print. Okay. But let's go ahead and check out So I just want to check out a chapter real fast. All right. So now in this book, it talks about the Reconstruction, post-Reconstruction horrors, right? So it started off saying Roberta C. Ransom, a militant black activist, financed an investigation of the Hoyt lynching from his base as an AME minister in Chicago. He hired a white detective who went to Georgia and obtained a statement from Mrs. Cranford. She said Hoyt had come to Cranford House for pay due him and had quarreled with her husband, who ran into the house to get his revolver. Just as Cranford was about to shoot him, Hoyce picked up an axe and threw it at Cranford, killing him instantly. Hoyce then fled. Mrs. Cranford attested that Hoyce had not entered the house or assaulted her. Ida B. Wells, then the leader of the anti-lynching movement, also investigated the incident and confirmed Ransom's version. The result of these investigations did not appear in the white press. If they had, they probably would have caused the lynching of suspected black informants. So black editors often suffer when they challenge that part of the rape myth that held that no white woman would have sexual relation voluntary with a black man. So, during that time, it was very common for white women or for white people to suspect that if a black man was with a white woman or anywhere close to a white woman, that he was raping her. So anytime a white woman come out and say that she got raped by a black man, that was a riot. That was over with. So all the black folks that's in town, they better just go ahead and run somewhere else, because they're getting ready to lose their lives. Because once that white woman say that that black man raped her, it's over with. Ain't no question. Ain't no if, ands, and buts about it. All right? So it was like you took her word over it. And even if she said that, oh, it wasn't true, the white jurors were still going to take her word over it. I mean, imagine just living in those time period. But let me go ahead and continue. All right, so it goes on to say that black editors often suffer when they challenge that part of the rape myth that held that no white woman would have sexual relation voluntary with a black man. Francis Gimmick, distinguished black Presbyterian minister and one of the leading intellectuals of his day, wrote of a southern white woman, one of the bluest of the blue moon, or blue blood. He spoke with in 1898. She said she knew of several cases where a white woman with a black lover cried rape when the affair was discovered and sacrificed her paramour on the altar of her reputation. John Hope documented the case of John Will Clark, a Cartersville, Georgia black. He was taken out of the bed he shared with his common-law white wife and lynched. This relationship was not unique. Ida B. Wells detailed 14 cases of white women with black lovers in 1892. When black editors wrote on this subject, some were lynched themselves or they were driven out of town and their presses were destroyed. This is what led to the 1892 destruction of Ida B. Wells newspaper in Memphis. In 1886, the editor of the Atlanta Defiance were jailed and fined for criticism of white violence. In 1900, William J. White, editor of the Georgia Baptist, was forced to repudiate and apologize for an article critical of lynching. You see, so this book goes into all the history about what was taking place in Georgia, especially when it came down to slavery, to activism, the Reconstruction era. All that you think of, this book right here goes into that detail. All right, so check out this book. And then here's another book, which is called The Black Mecca, The Legend of the Black Mecca, Politics and Class and Making a Modern Atlanta by Maurice J. Hobson. All right, so there's a chapter in this book. It's chapter 1. Now let's go into chapter 16. Page 16 in this book. It says, as the quality of black life declined, Atlanta's business and industrial strength blustered the coming of the New South for whites. In 1895, as a sign of its progress, Atlanta hosted one of the finest examples of the city's effort towards boosterism, the Cotton States and International Exposition, a well-publicized fair that celebrated the Yeah, that celebrated the supposed progress of the South since the Civil War and the resumption of white control over blacks. The fair was held in Piedmont Park, which was also the site where Booker T. Washington delivered his speech to Northern philanthropists. The talk was later dubbed the Atlanta Compromise by the scholar W.E.B. Du Bois. Washington advised Southern blacks to concentrate on vocational training rather than civil and political rights. He connected the interests of blacks with the prosperity of the region and proposed that blacks focus on commerce, an area he believed would give them more opportunities in the South than the North. The white press reported the speech as a major sensation. However, for blacks, Washington had dealt a definite blow in the name of white power. For more than 2 decades, he would cast a long shadow over development in the South. He did so, however, in the face of criticism from other black leaders such as Du Bois, a professor at Atlanta University who had founded a center to examine the social aspect of black life in America in 1896. Others include John Hope, president of Morehouse College, and activist T. Thomas Fortune and Jesse Redmond Fossey challenged Washington's plan to give up black civil liberties. Even so, Washington's speech was so well liked by whites that the words he uttered on that summer day in September became the basis for the separate but equal legal language that resulted in the 1896 U.S. Supreme Court Plessy versus Ferguson decision. All right, so this is this book. So now there was a lot of criticism that was given at that time. See, when we don't hear much about Booker T. Washington. See, Booker T. Washington did a lot of speeches out here in Atlanta, and as the book was mentioned, he did a speech in Piedmont Park. So people like W.E.B. Du Bois and John Hope gave criticism because their thing was more into civil liberties and political activism, whereas Booker T. Washington was more focused on being able to teach blacks how to pretty much do for self. Okay, how to really go about doing agriculture, starting up their own businesses, etc., so they can be able to make income and have substantial income and be able to focus on group economics. So his thing was group economics. W.E.B. Du Bois and John Hope was more about education and activism and politics. That was their thing. So they all they butted heads with each other, right? So Booker T. Washington received a lot of criticism, backlash from the black community. Well, in the white community, white folks like, shoot, we love that. We love to hear a nigga talk like that. You know what I'm saying? We love when we hear niggas saying stuff like this. So that's when it came about the whole separate but equal thing, meaning that you in your separate facility, but everybody's going to get treated equal. However, that was not the case. That was not the case because blacks did not get treated equal. Yeah, they were separated, but they weren't treated equal. They weren't getting equal share. So that put them on the back end of the burner. So blacks said, okay, well, this separate but equal thing ain't really working for us. So we finna just go ahead and try to force our way through this. Because we don't have no money in our community. We don't have generational wealth. So how we gonna sustain generational wealth? How we gonna do all of this? We're gonna have to force ourselves into this. We're gonna have to fight for integration. We're gonna have to fight for job opportunity. We're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to put ourselves out there. So that's one of the reasons why integration happened, because black people was looking at it from an economic standpoint, from a social standpoint. That's what black people was looking at it as, right? But yeah, so because Booker T. Washington preached so much about do for self and having something for your own, he attracted the attention of Marcus Garvey and many others. Okay. But yeah, so get back to John Hope. John Hope really put his emphasis and focus on making sure that African Americans get the education they need so they can be able to become not only scholars, but also activists and whatever the case may be. He made sure that there was graduate programs taking place at colleges like Morehouse and Atlanta University. He made sure that he put up a fight for that, for the graduate program. He did that. He put a lot of work into that. So it's only fair that we acknowledge and we honor those ancestors who did a tremendous amount of work within our community. Because it was not an easy thing. You're talking about in the time of the 1900s, right? Between the 1900s always up to the 1930s. Putting up a fight to make sure that African Americans get the best quality education they needed. I mean, just putting up a fight. Who can imagine living in those time periods? Who can imagine living in those time periods where you was in the post-Reconstruction era and you was also dealing with Jim Crow and you also was facing the possibility of being lynched, your neighborhood being burnt down and all. So black folks was going through so much. And for John Hope, it was not easy for him as being a leader and an activist and being a president of two historically black colleges. So yes, no matter how we might feel, you might say that, well, those was house niggas or they was bougie or whatever. You better be glad that these people really put up the opportunity and put their lives on the line to make sure that you can be able to study and do the research and educate yourself and teach the people all around you and share the information with your loved ones. Because if they did not do that, we would still be in we'll be in a worse predicament than we are today. We'll be in so much worse predicament. All right, but anyways, you guys, I'm going to tell you guys the name of the book y'all need to check out. Black Mecca, Politics and Class in the Making of Modern Atlanta. And The Way It Was in the South by Donald L. Grant. Y'all gonna see me post these books again one day, okay? Because I'm gonna use them again. And also, make sure you guys look at this book right here, which is called A Clashing of the Soul, John Hope and the Dilemma of African American Leadership in Black Higher Education. Right? All right, then. So, anyways, let me see. Check out. So, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to TK Digital. Shout out to Lion Times Baby. What's up? How you doing? He said the champion is here. Okay. And TK Additional said he didn't play. No, he did not play games. Neither one of them played. They neither one, because it was a serious time. It was a desperate time. That was a desperate time period. So, of course, they didn't have the room to play any games. They didn't have the room for that. All right, so let me see if I can find any comments on my mobile device. So some comments won't show up on my computer for whatever the case may be. I mean, all right. All right, so I guess that's all the comments. I thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I try to do the best that I can. You know, I really try to do what I can. I can only do so much. I'm only one person. So, Thank you for that comment, Lions Times, baby. Thank you so much. Um, it's only, like I said, it's only so much I can do. I mean, everybody else got to do the work on their own, you know. So I'm doing my part. So everybody else got to do their part. All right. So yeah, if you just coming in watching the video, just make sure you watch it from the beginning. All right, you got to watch it from the beginning. So the topic is about John Hope. Okay. And as I mentioned, just to give a little recap, as I mentioned earlier, he was a political activist and he was an educator. And there was a housing project. There was a housing project in Atlanta that was named after him. It was called John Hope Projects, right? That's the name of it. Was John Hope Project, which is now Castleberry Hill. Okay, so if anybody type it up on the computer, just look up Castleberry Hill or look up what was the former name of Castleberry Hill or what was in the area before the apartments, and it's gonna say John Hope. So John Hope was one of the projects that was built. I think it was built around, what year was that? I think it was built maybe 2 or 3 years after Tedwood, because Tedwood was the first housing project that was built in Atlanta. So Tedwood was the first housing project in America. It was the first housing project in America, period. And it was built in Atlanta. So I think Hope Project was built maybe 2 years after Tedwood. It was built 2 years after Tedwood. So yeah. But Tedwood was the oldest project and the first project in America. And it was here in Atlanta. All right. So one day I'm going to do the topic on projects, the hood, and the street. So the life of the streets and the projects in the hood. I mean, because it's only fair. So it's gonna be very fun. I mean, it might be tedious because it's gonna be consist of a lot of information. It's gonna be consist of a lot of work. So, but it's fun because we'll be able to go and explore the origin of what it's like to deal with street life and the history of the ghettos, or what we call today the hoods, right? And then go into the origin of how the projects came in and what was the purpose of having public housing projects, etc. So, talk about Section 8 and all of that stuff. So, yeah, it's a lot that I'm going to get into, though, but y'all stay tuned on that. Real talk. Okay? Thank you so much. I will continue to do so. That's what my goal is. I'm going to continue to post as much information as I possibly can. Okay? I'm going to do as much as I can. So thank you guys so much. Okay, so we'll see. We'll try to work that out. I can't guarantee you that I'm going to do it anytime soon as far as debate is concerned, but we'll see how that works. So if I ever decide to do a debate, I'll reach out to you and make sure I have you on the platform. All right. I'll reach out to you and then I'll let you know. All right. Or if you got me on social media, check me out on social media. I will put in my social media information if you ain't got it. You know what? This is what I'm gonna do. Hold on. Let me make it a lot easier. All right, so I'm gonna post up my social media pages. All right, so if you guys can see my banner going across. All right. So those are my social media page on Facebook. So I mainly be on Facebook a lot. So just add those two. All right. Make sure you add those two. So yeah. All right. I see you. Okay, I see you. I know you are. I know you are. But anyways, you guys have a good evening. And thank you all for coming through. For those of you that are watching, thank you for supporting my channels. Shout out to my day ones that have been supporting me from the beginning. Thank you guys so much. If you've been here from day one, and make sure you subscribe, like the channel, share the videos. Check out my other video contents on here, and then we'll go from there. All right. All right then. So y'all be safe, and until next time, peace and power, elevation. Be to all of you. This your girl Tip, and deuces. All right.